Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to earnings conference call of Dalmia Bharat Limited for the quarter ended 30th June 2021. Please note that this conference will be for 60 minutes, and for the duration of this conference call, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. This conference call is being recorded, and the transcript for the same may be put up on the website of the company. After the management discussion, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions. Before I hand over the conference to the management, I would like to remind you that certain statements made during the course of this call may not be based on historical information or facts and may be forward-looking statements. The forward-looking statements are based on expectations and projections and may involve a number of risks and uncertainties and other factors that could cause actual results, opportunities, and growth potential to differ materially from those suggested by such statements. On the call, we have with us Mr. Puneet Dalmia, MD, Dalmia Bharat Limited, Mr. Mahendra Singhi, Managing Director and CEO, Dalmia Cement Bharat Limited, Mr. Dharmendra Tuteja, CFO, Dalmia Bharat Limited, Mr. Rajiv Bansal, Group Head, Strategy and Transformation, and other management of the company. I would now like to hand the conference over to Ms. Aditi Mittal, Head Investor Relations at Dalmia Bharat. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Neera. Good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you in the Q1 22 earnings call of Dalmia Bharat Limited. Hope you all had a chance to go through the results and also a brief presentation which we filed this morning with regards to the capital allocation framework and capacity expansion plan, which we're going to be laying down during the course of this call. If not, the same can also be downloaded from our website from under the investor section. Without taking much time, I'll hand over the call to Mr. Puneet Dalmia for his opening remarks. Over to you.
Thank you, Aditi. Good morning, everyone. As the second wave settles down, I hope all of you and your families are safe and well. Though the recent pandemic has caused some disruption, we have deep conviction in the India macro story and the intrinsic growth potential of India. There is a large-scale metamorphosis going on in the Indian economy and society, which is bigger in scale and scope compared to the 1991 liberalization reforms. As millions of people get lifted out of poverty, a massive middle class will get created, driving a consumption and housing boom. And as India marches confidently towards becoming one of the top 3 economies of the world, India will continue to build world-class infrastructure across the board to enable economic growth. We see both infra and housing as strong and sustainable demand drivers for cement demand over the next decade. To serve this enormous growth in cement consumption that is likely to happen, we have set ourselves the following 3 strategic targets for the next 10 years. 1, we want to be a pan-India, pure-play cement company. 2, we will have a significant presence in every market that we serve. And 3rd, that we will grow our capacity to between 110 to 130 million tons by 2031. We have spent a lot of time discussing and deliberating our capital allocation policy within the management team and our board over the last few months. I would like to thank many of our investors who gave us valuable inputs on how to look at our capital allocation. I know that we have taken 1 quarter extra to come back to you on this issue, but it has been a very worthwhile and a high-quality exercise. Just like we were the first cement company to announce net zero carbon by 2040, we are excited to be the first cement company in India to formally announce a capital allocation policy. The central principles that have driven our thinking on capital allocation is that Dalmia will deliver a predictable, sustainable, and profitable growth over the next decade. And all this with a strong balance sheet with the highest standards of corporate governance. We looked at our 11% capacity CAGR over the past 10 years and realized that our capacity growth was uneven in the first 5 years at 25% CAGR compared to the next 5 years at 4% CAGR. We are now making a 10-year plan to grow in a much more predictable manner with a 15% capacity CAGR, which will take our capacity to between 110 to 130 million tons by 2031. Though our growth will be a judicious mix of both organic and inorganic opportunities, we will lay much more emphasis on the cost-efficient, predictable, and easier to plan organic growth. While our 10-year plan is to reach between 110 to 130 million tons of capacity, but in the next 3 years, we have firm plans to reach a capacity of 45.5 million tons. We are further detailing our plans to reach 60 million tons by March 2025, which we will announce in the next 9 to 12 months. The details of our journey to 48.5 million tons will be shared by Mr. Singhi later in this call. While pursuing predictable growth, we also want to ensure that our shareholders have a predictable trajectory of returns. Hence, we are making a significant shift in our policy of returning capital to our shareholders. From this financial year onwards, we are allocating up to 10% of our operating cash flows towards dividend and share buybacks. Dalmia took its responsibility towards the environment very seriously, much before it became fashionable and now a business compulsion. We are proud to be one of the greenest cement companies on the planet, and we will continue to reduce our carbon footprint ahead of our peers. Today, we are announcing a bold commitment to become a 100% blended cement company over the next 5 years. This will substantially reduce our clinker factor and carbon footprint in the years ahead. We are currently below 500 kilograms of CO2 per ton of cement, and we will bring this close to 400 by 2025 and below 400 by 2030. However, we will continuously find newer ways to accelerate this reduction and come back to you with our progress on execution periodically. I have been named chairman of the 25-member Cement Development Council made by the Government of India for a period of 2 years starting 5th July 2021. With all humility, I accept this responsibility, and I will work closely with all stakeholders to showcase the cement sector in India to the whole world as a standout story of decarbonization in a hard-to-abate sector. As a part of our capital allocation policy, we are proposing an innovation in green fund by allocating up to 10% of our operating cash flows to develop and adopt innovative technologies to combat climate change. This fund would be used for nurturing breakthrough innovations such as developing low-carbon cements, pilots for carbon capture technology, mineralization, oxy-fuel technology, heat electrification, green hydrogen, etc. As a part of this allocation will be used towards continuously reducing our carbon footprint by investing in renewable power, substituting fossil fuels, and using alternate materials to substitute clinker. Since inception, we have always been amongst one of the most profitable cement companies in India. While we pursue a lower carbon footprint, we will also continue to go lower on the cost curve. There is still a lot of room left for Dalmia to cover on the cost reduction side. We are allocating 1,000 to 1,200 crores over the next 2 to 3 years to invest in waste heat recovery systems, solar power, and equipment and IP to substitute fossil fuels and clinker. Additionally, 900 to 1,000 crores would be applied towards certain ROI yielding capex and also regular maintenance of our plants. Majority of these investments will lower our variable cost while simultaneously reducing our carbon footprint. With these initiatives, we are targeting an ROCE of 14 to 15% over the next few years. As we set out to pursue our vision of being a pan-India pure-play cement company over the next decade, and deliver a more predictable growth, we are absolutely clear that we want to do this with a very strong balance sheet. Over the last 10 years, we grew capacity at 11% CAGR, and today we are a net debt-free company. We can continue to grow capacity at 10% CAGR in the future without taking any debt whatsoever. However, we believe that the cement sector in India will consolidate further, and big players will become bigger. In line with our vision of participating in industry consolidation, we are targeting a 15% CAGR in capacity, and we will finance this growth through a prudent mix of debt and equity. A right mix of debt and equity will also help us in reducing the weighted average cost of capital and improving returns to our shareholders. Based on a lot of deliberation and a detailed analysis, we will be comfortable with a net debt to EBITDA of up to 2 times. Since growth opportunities, both inorganic and organic, are never secular, we may at times be required to exceed the above ratio of 2 times. However, we believe that it would only be for very exceptional cases and for large strategic inorganic opportunities. And we will endeavor to bring it back within 2 times in a definite time period. Over the last few months, during our engagement with investors, we had received a lot of constructive feedback on sharpening our focus on our core cement business. We looked at our historical journey over the last 10 years, and we learned that by creating pure-play businesses, we have reaped significant benefits in business performance due to management focus and accountability. We will continue the same strategic direction and will make Dalmia Bharat a pure-play cement company. In line with our strategy of creating a pure-play cement companies, we reviewed the building materials retail and the refractory business. After detailed deliberations in the board meeting yesterday, the board has decided to divest the retail business from DCBL. We expect to complete this divestment process within the next 3 to 4 months. Till 30th June, DCBL has made a total investment of Rs 99 crores in this business, and the board has approved an additional allocation of 40 crores to meet the expenses till the date of divestment. In refractories, DCBL has divested its refractory business to Dalmia Bharat Refractory Limited. The divestment has been done at a fair market valuation undertaken by Grant Thornton. The scheme has been approved by the shareholders and is currently pending with NCLT for its final approval. During this quarter, we have also divested 4.5% of our stake in IEX, and we will continue to evaluate our position in the same. We have also made changes to our treasury policy and clearly articulated that at least 85% of the money should be invested in AAA rated debt instruments, while the balance 15% can be in AA plus rated debt instruments. I've always maintained that our people are our biggest assets, and we have got here because of a committed, hard-working, and ambitious management team. We saw the magic they produced during the first wave of COVID last year by delivering our best performance ever. Even this time, during the second wave, as COVID spread rapidly into rural areas, we navigated several mini lockdowns, a temporary oxygen crisis, and an incredible disruption in supply chains with great commitment and finesse. Our leaders did a great job and managed the business very well while keeping deep empathy and the morale high. In the journey ahead, our people will be the most important focus, personally for me, and we will emphasize disproportionately towards building a great culture and a strong value system. Another important area of my personal focus in the coming years will be to continuously focus on building more transparency and embracing the highest standards of governance. A very key event in this board meeting is that the board has recommended the appointment of one of the big five, Grant Thornton, as auditors of Dalmia Bharat Limited. Approval for the same is yet to be taken from the shareholders. I thank you all once again for your valuable inputs and constructive feedback on how to think about our future journey. Just to quickly summarize, Dalmia will be a pan-India pure-play cement company with a capacity CAGR of 15%, which will take our capacity to 110 to 130 million tons by 2031. This growth will be achieved with the highest standards of transparency and governance and a strong balance sheet, keeping the net debt to EBITDA under 2 times. Our treasury will be invested only in AAA or AA plus debt instruments. Our growth will be more predictable, and we will focus much more on organic growth and pursue strategic acquisition based on our long-term footprint. We will allocate up to 10% of our operating cash flows for returning to shareholders through dividend and share buybacks. We will grow yet be fully responsible towards the environment. To pursue our RE100 and net zero carbon goals, we will allocate up to 10% of our operating cash flow towards an innovation and green fund, which will be used to develop and adopt the latest environment-friendly and construction technologies. The balance available funds, along with any debt, will be used to fund our growth journey to 110 to 130 million tons. In line with our vision to create a pure-play company, the board has decided to divest the construction retail business in the next 3 to 4 months, and the refractory divestment is also approved by shareholders, and it is awaiting the final NCLT approval. We have made some very strategic and significant announcements during this call, and we are super excited about it. We will continue to seek your guidance, support, and feedback from time to time. I would now like to hand over the call to Mr. Singhi for an update on the quarterly performance and to share the specifics of our growth plan till 45 million tons. Thank you.
Thank you, Punitji. Dear friends, a very happy morning to all of you. In my view, today is a historic day for Dalmia Bharat Group, as we have been able to lay down and share with all our stakeholders what our vision is for next 10 years. The way transparently we have come out with our vision on environment, on social front, on governance front, as well as on sustainable and profitable growth. I think it will go a long way to make us as one of the most important players even in the field of ESG. Dear friends, the pandemic has brought to reality the unthinkable and disrupted life world over. I'm very proud of our team that even during this period also, we have delivered a great and consistent performance. First, to this call also, I would like to thank my own team as well as the government and nearby society who had helped us to take care of people and the society. We have made our all best efforts to take care of the people by contributing in one way or other, by providing all sort of services so that people are sure of their health and of the future. We were also very happy to contribute significantly towards government's efforts to meet their COVID measures. Friends, like what Punitji has shared, that we have always believed in our today and tomorrow not only on the business but on the sustainability also. We could continue our leadership role in sustainability as well as the green growth, and that has helped us to bring down also our carbon footprint to almost 492 kg per ton of cement. Here I would also like to share with you that with the appointment of Shri Punitji as Chairman of Development Council, it will give not only the Dalmia Bharat Group but to the all cement companies of India a great opportunity to excel in all areas of circular economy, all areas of decarbonization, and how to use the material. We have been able to take important role in global sustainability world, and based on that and based on our performance, COP26 presidency has made our company as one of the 16 COP26 business leaders who can play a very important role in garnering the support of various organizations for waste to zero, as well also show a leadership. We are also very happy to share that the World Bank Group has appointed us as one of the 2 global carbon pricing champions so that we can create awareness about the carbon, we can create awareness about growth, opportunities, and challenges on account of carbon. Friends, we have always believed in the philosophy of clean and green is profitable and sustainable. And the same philosophy would be pursued while first targeting a capacity growth plan of 48.5 million tons and then reaching to a level of 110 to 130 million tons by 2031 in the most sustainable way. We will surely now try to highlight that how we are going to meet our target of 48.5 million tons in next 2 years. So let me share that detail. And before that, let me also highlight how is our ongoing projects going on. So in regard to our commercial production of line 2 of Odisha grinding unit, we are expecting to make it commercial by September end. In terms of trial production of Morli cement, it will start in few months' time, and we are expecting that commercial production should start by December this year. This will take us our capacity to 36 million tons by end of financial year 22. The Bihar grinding unit is expected to begin production by March 24. The remaining capex on the same, along with some land acquisitions for light stone augmentation, is close to around 2,000 crore. The market in East continues to remain buoyant, and we have tremendous confidence in the growth prospects of the region. And accordingly, we would be expanding in the East market also, in addition to expanding our footprint in South and Northeast. We are now targeting to increase our clinker capacity in totality to 23.4 million tons and grinding to 48.5 million tons. Let me also share the experience which we got by commencing line number 3 clinkerization line of 9,500 tons per day, and it has now become one of the best in terms of heat consumption, best in terms of specific power consumption, best in terms of environment compliance. And based on this experience, now we have taken up various technological measures to improve the capacity of all our clinkerization lines in one way or other, so that the capacity can now move to 23.4 million tons. And the regional breakup of clinker by region would be: South will have 9.4 million tons, East 8.3 million tons, and Northeast 3.3 million tons, and further the capacity of Morli would also be added, which will be 2.4 million tons. On grinding side, now we will be adding 2 new greenfield split grinding units in South, with each unit having a capacity of 1.5 million tons to cater to markets of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. In East, at our Bokaro plant, we will be undertaking a brownfield expansion of 1.7 million tons. Besides this, we have also evaluated each of the existing plants and have undertaken measures to add another 5.3 million tons through debottlenecking across all plants. Ladies and gentlemen, this all activities would lead us to a grinding capacity of 48.5 million tons by FY24, and we will be adding 10 million tons. This all expansions, this all debottlenecking is the same philosophy that clean and green is profitable and sustainable, and like Puneet has highlighted in his remarks, that we are moving towards a pure 100% blended cement company by by next 5 years. Now, regionally, the grinding capacity breakup by March 24 would be South 15.9 million ton, East 23.1 million ton, Northeast 5.5 million ton, and Morbi 4 million ton. The cost to add this clinker debottlenecking and grinding capacity is estimated at around 4,700 to 5,000 crores. Now, within our roadmap to become carbon negative by 2040, we would be further adding various type of technologies which will take us to a CC ratio of maximum in both PPC, PSC, and PCC. Now, we want to highlight that based on various initiatives which we have taken for sustainability, we have also now committed ourselves to join EV100 roadmap, by which 2030 we will make all efforts to get to electric vehicles wherever as per the scheme it has to be done, so that we can also work on sustainability even on electric vehicle side. You all are fully aware that we are part of RE100. That means that by 2030 we would be going for 100% renewable energy, as well as EP100, by which we are improving our energy productivity. And joining all three initiatives together, we have become the first company in global manufacturing world that which is committed for all these initiatives. We are spending close to 1,000 to 1,200 crore for building solar power capacity, waste heat recovery system, and increasing proportion of green fuel in our fuel mix. By March 23, our solar capacity would be around 87 megawatt and WHRS 62 megawatt. We are hopeful that by this period, all our kilns would be having WHRS capacity. Furthermore, there would be an expenditure of close to 1,000 crore upon certain ROI initiatives and routine maintenance expenses. So this is, friends, a broad overview of what we are doing to work on CapEx for adding capacity to 48.5 million ton. Over and above that, the efforts would be to create a limestone ability for various new greenfield, brownfield projects, which will help us to reach to our mission of 130 million ton by 2031. Now, let me move to quarterly performance. The revenue for the quarter was rupees 2,589 crore, and the EBITDA stood at 700 crores. Both revenue and EBITDA witnessed strong growth at 36% and 14% respectively on YOY basis. Despite the continuous cost increase, the EBITDA margin remained healthy at 27% and per ton EBITDA at rupees 1,430. Despite the sharp increase in the price of slag over the last few quarters, we were able to maintain our raw material cost at 855 per ton due to change in the product mix from Portland slag cement to Portland composite cement. Our fuel and power cost increased to 1,054 per ton in the quarter due to increase in cost of petcoke and coal, which has also now become a national and global phenomenon. Petcoke prices are at all-time high of around $130 per ton compared to what it was about $70 per ton in Q1 FY21. We have been continuously reducing the proportion of petcoke in the fuel mix, as many times I highlighted that all our plants are ready to use any economic fuel. While for the quarter, the petcoke percentage came down to 46%, And in this journey, for June month, we were able to bring it down further to 34%. We'll go on optimizing the fuel mix, looking to its economic viability. The most important area here I would like to highlight is our journey towards green fuel, which is otherwise called alternate fuel. For us, whatever which saves either the cost or the carbon footprint, that's a green. So we have increased usage of green fuel, which stood at 9.1% of the fuel mix as compared to 8.4% in Q4 last year and 6% in Q1 FY21. In fact, in June, we increased the green fuel percentage at the highest level of 14%. And we are quite hopeful that when this year ends, we should be able to touch green fuel percentage of 20%, which will also help not only our organization to bring down the cost and bring down the carbon footprint, but it will also help the municipalities, the cities, as well as various companies from where you would be taking care of their hazardous waste. In terms of logistic cost, it has marginally inched up to 1,057 rupees per ton during the quarter, despite various measures which we have taken, but at the same time, the cost of diesel has impacted us also and most of others also. Friends, the beginning of new fiscal may have been tepid, but for now, the worst seems to be behind us. With the forecast of the third consecutive normal monsoon by IMD, the recent increase in MSP by the government, and improved food grain production, the rural housing demand is expected to bounce back gradually. The government has lost the last 2 years, but looking to the policies which are in making or which have been created, we are quite hopeful that now, with the support of the government also, a new capex line is starting, both in terms of industrial productivity also, of course, with the support of few PLI schemes also, and at the same time, improvement in rural economy. We are fully geared up for any opportunity that may come up our way. We have used the downtime of pandemic in one way or other to review, reassess, and redesign. And now we are much stronger and robust than ever before. And I'm sure the way Puniji has highlighted the future story, you would all agree. Our vision to grow into a larger, more profitable, more sustainable, and more respectable company would surely lead the way for us in time to come. Our whole team, not only of management, but total team of Dalmia Bharat family members are fully committed to work on ESG, which is good for each and every one of the member of the group. I'm thankful for your patient hearing, and then now I'll hand it over to our moderator. Thank you, friends. Good day and good day ahead.
Thank you very much. We'll now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, you may press star and one to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Sumangal Nevatia from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone, and big congratulations on coming out with an excellent capital allocation policy. I think it addresses a large part of all the investor feedback. I have two set of questions, first on the quarter and then on the expansion. Now, starting with the quarter, our volume performance appears to be a bit weak, and it appears that we have lost some market share in East. Also, fixed cost is a bit on a higher side. So is it possible to share some details as to why have we lost market share? And is it more of a specific competitor issue getting more aggressive, or some internal issue with respect to quality or something? And then how do we plan to fix this in coming quarters?
Sure. So first, I would like to say that in Q1 last year, our performance was exceptional, and more particularly in East, when many of the cement players could not start their plant, but our team could start the plant, could sell the quantity, and that's why if you look our performance of Q1 quantity per se in East, we were the best. Based on comparatively higher base, you would find that our numbers are completely lower. At the same time, I would be straightforward in saying, to some extent, in East, we lost some market share in the month of April and May, based because of few reasons. And one of the major reasons was, one, the stoppage of our cutter grinding unit for few days on account of COVID situation in that area. And secondly, some changes which we did in our marketing plan. Based on that, we lost the market share, but now we have already started regaining our market share. And when we meet next time in this investor call, I'll be very happy to share that how much market share we have been able to regain. Now, the competition would continue, and it should continue so that it energizes everyone. But there are no issues in regard to external or internal, including quality. We are still the preferred brand for many consumers, both in terms of retail as well as in terms of institutions also.
Understood. That's helpful. So the second set of question on the expansion plan. Now we've got very limited time to understand it, but overall looks like 50% of our expansion is through debottlenecking, and we are adding somewhere around 15 odd million tons, 15% on the capacity base just by debottlenecking. So this level of debottlenecking is quite unprecedented for a cement producer. So just want to understand more details. Is it some low-hanging fruit which is available only with Dalmia, or is it possible across the industry now in coming years? And what exactly are we doing here in terms of debottlenecking? And then in the overall capex of 5,000 odd crores for 10 billion tons, how much are we spending for this debottlenecking and the remaining greenfield brownfield?
First, I would like to say that our team is fully capable of understanding new technological innovations as well as to get best out of each and every plant. Now, based on that, now future looks great in terms of demand, in terms of growth opportunities, and that's why a detailed exercise was done for each and every nutrition plant as well the cement grinding facilities, that what best can be churned out of it. You know, our philosophy is use less and produce more. So even if you are able to produce more from the existing unit by doing certain debottlenecking, by changing certain equipment, by expanding cyclones, by making changes in cooler, by making some small changes here and there, why not to do that? One or other way, many companies do that, and that gets done also. So I would say that it may or may not be able to be available for others, but I would say that with the management focus and the capability of the management, we are able to do it. We'll be able to do it, and we have also understood that when we do this debottlenecking or certain addition of small equipment, it is very cost effective and it is very fast also. And that's why you would find that all these activities would be done by March 23 in a major way, March 23. So we are quite hopeful that with this, we will be able to churn best out of our existing plant. We'll be able to get best out of our people.
Understood. And Cindy ji, what would be the breakup in terms of when you are spending 5,000 for 10 million tons? So for this 5 million tons, how much are we spending?
Yes. So 5 million ton, exact number maybe we'll just share in next 10 minutes.
Okay. If I may just ask one question. On the CC ratio in the east, we are maintaining at 2.9 on the expanded capacity, which I think is industry high. So what exactly you think is the production capability? Because I mean the norm is more of 2.2 in east. So do you believe that consumer acceptability to this higher blending ratio would develop over time, or how exactly do we plan to transit the consumer acceptability towards this 3x blending?
Great question. First, I would like to highlight that we have been always leader in ensuring that we produce and give a sustainable green cement, and that's why in the east also, since last many years when we were able to change our product mix with the best technology available, we were able to use maximum slag, which has helped not only us, not only the globe, but it also helps the consumers. And based on that now, slowly, we are moving away from PPC as and when it will be possible in the year or two. And at the same time, we are also focusing on both Portland composite cement and Portland slag cement. So as far as the acceptability of the cement is concerned, there is no issues, because one, the quality of cement is great in terms of any means, and at the same time there are experienced technical services team which also support the people to use the cement in the best possible way. So we are quite hopeful that this CC ratio, which is understood in a mathematical way, but if one tries to understand the cement in its quality, everybody would agree that it is possible. Yes.
So Mangal, may I request to unmute your line from your side, please?
Sorry. Thanks. Just if I may squeeze in just last question on the CapEx, given it's quite a significant announcement. So we are planning to spend 10,000 crores in the next 2.5 years. I mean, if you could share what would be an annual breakup of CapEx and how much have we spent in 1Q, that will be very helpful.
Yes. Dharmendra, would you like to share?
Yeah. In the first year, it may be around 4,000 crores, and the remaining amount will get spent in the next few years.
First year is FY22, 4,000 crores?
Yes, please.
And what have we spent in 1Q?
Quarter one is only about, let's say, 300 crores. So, but of course, amounts will get spent in the coming quarters.
Okay, so 3,700 in. Okay, got it. Okay, thanks for patiently answering all the questions and all the best.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Murarka from Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity and congratulations on the capital allocation policy. So just a few more questions on that front, particularly the capex on the capacity side. So in announcement, how I see is like the expansions are more on debottlenecking rather than the new units being set up actually. So and if I have to just look at like south, like in south, I think you are looking at 3.9 million ton expansion, 3 million ton expansion plus 0.9 of debottlenecking. But for that, the clinker seems like is 1.6. So that implies a very high cement clinker ratio. And south as a market, I believe, doesn't have that much of blended cement or slag cement. So how do we think about the blending ratios in south, wherein you seem to be indicating that the ratios will be higher going ahead?
Yes. So, like we highlighted that now we have started our journey towards 100% blended cement company for within 5 years. So with that aim in mind, we have started even now also as we speak, increasing our blended cement, which is EPC in south in a larger way. And in South, at the moment, we are not targeting the slag cement, but we are targeting that slowly we should be only producing Portland Pozzolana cement. And even in today's scenario also, there are many institutional buyers also who do use PPC. Secondly, also, I would like to highlight that now Government of India is also thinking in a big way how to promote green products, and the blended cement is part of those green products. Government is thinking how to make now green roads in which they can use blended cement as well they can use fly ash or other materials also. So now we are looking at the future, because we are just not looking at past what has happened. Everybody has to now understand what's the need of the future for the country also and for the globe also. So based on that, we have said that yes, we would be moving towards blended cement, and accordingly we should please for that in grinding.
Okay. And the clinker expansion that you mentioned in the presentation, is that all debottlenecking, or there is a new clinker line that is coming up also?
So this is all debottlenecking, like what I said, that we could identify various opportunities which are lying in each and every plant, and our experience of putting up one of the best technologically proven plant, line 3 in Rajgangpur in Odisha, has given us a lot of sight. And now with the support of technologies plant suppliers like FL Smith, KHD, Hermod Dalbani, and Tyson Group, we are confident that in a very short time we'll be able to expand this capacity.
Okay, but there is no new clinker line being set up, right? Just to be clear.
You're so right.
Okay, and what will be the limestone life in each of these regions now after these expanded clinker lines?
We have a sufficient clinker reserve available for various places, and depending from maybe 15 years to 25 years and all that. And secondly, also, now the government has become very proactive in identifying the limestone reserves land which are lying near the cement plant also and otherwise also. And you would find that now every second month or third month, there are limestone block auctions. Government is bound now to announce and to execute the limestone block auction, and which will also help us in ramping up our limestone reserves. So we are quite confident that as a cement company, we will be able to further ramp up our limestone reserves in each and every place of existing operations. As well, we'll also be able to get new auction blocks in the newer areas also.
Sure. And on the context of auctions, like in the north, you had the block under auction. So, by when that will come into production?
Yes. So efforts are on now. First, to buy the land there, and once we are through with 60-70% land purchase, then we'll be able to commit our timeline.
Okay. And lastly, just I think Mr. Dalmia also mentioned in the opening comment that you're looking at, I think, 60 million tons. So is there further some clarity on, can you give on that, or that will come later?
So I'll go with what Mr. Dalmia said, that in next 9 to 12 months, we'll be able to come out with full clarity.
Okay. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Jain from Samsung Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question. The first question I had was on the capacity expansion. So if you're looking at a 15% CAGR story, but on volume, do you think the 15% CAGR is something we're targeting as well, or what sort of growth over industry are we looking at when we're planning this sort of capacity expansion?
We are looking at 15% CAGR in terms of our own capacity. I'm not sure that the capacity of Indian cement sector would be able to grow up to 15%, but we do feel that the cement sector may grow by 7 to 8, 9%. But our target is that our CAGR should be 15% in terms of cement capacity growth. and this we are looking from our own cement capacity.
No, I understand. From a capacity, the question was more from a volume perspective in terms of sales.
I think, look, given that we are at the start of the capex cycle, we believe that the cement sector has the potential to grow 2 to 3% higher than GDP over the next 7 to 8 years. We are all seeing consolidation also happening in the industry, and larger players are gradually increasing their market share. If you have to just see financial year 21 alone, the increase in market share of top 5 groups went from 57% a year before to almost 65%. So I think we expect this consolidation also to gather pace in the coming years. And this makes us believe that the top 4-5 players have the potential to grow at 14-15% CAGR over the next decade. So we'll grow our volume in this range only.
Sure, thanks. And the second question I had was on the the green fund. I mean, just want to get a sense, is that something you want to do internally, or we're looking at tying up with startups, or how's the plan there?
I think, look, at the end of the day, we want to use this to enhance our, cost competitiveness and green competitiveness. So, I think we are still going to make we have given you the broad direction on, what are the areas that we are looking at. Now, in what format we will invest, how we will invest, we're going to detail that out, but it has to benefit Dalmia. Either we come down on the cost curve or we come down on carbon footprint. So we are going to absorb these technologies to, help us both on the cost side and the green side.
Sure, understand. And just the last question from my side is, when I look at the capacity expansion for the next 3 years, my understanding was South was still, sort of underutilized. And, we want to be a pan-India, and, the current 4-year plan does not seem to include North. Just your thoughts, why you trying to put up capacity in South ahead of North?
Sure. So if you break up South, I think there is Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and there is Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. I think we are adding most of our capacity in Tamil Nadu and Kerala to serve the Tamil Nadu and Kerala markets, which we think we have a better cost position there compared to some of the Andhra players. And we think a lot of cement which comes from outside South can be substituted by local capacity. So bulk of our capacity in South is getting added in to serve the Tamil Nadu and Kerala markets.
Thank you.
And if I can just add, Rajiv here, when you're talking about the next 4 years, the plan that we'll announce in the next 9 to 12 months, also we are looking at expanding our footprint in the Central and North India. But at this stage, we'll not be able to divulge more details at this time. But definitely the 60 million ton that we're talking about also would set our footprint in the North and Central India.
Right, makes sense. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kamlesh from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. So one question on the part of this ongoing expansion. So if I recollect, in last quarter con call, we had told that roughly around 960 crore is pending to be invested. But in this presentation, we have given that 1950 to 2,000 crore is pending on the ongoing expansion. So any clarity on that part?
So there are 3 projects which are ongoing projects. One is Cuttack or Odisha grinding unit, and second one is the Borli, which is going to be commercialized by December, and third one, where the major capex is there to be spent, is of Bihar grinding unit. So this is all broadly distributed in these 3 units.
No, sir, I was asking that we were guiding that the pending capex is 960 crore, but now I see the amount, it is 1950 to 2,000 crore. And it's in the last quarter con call only.
So I think when we are adding waste heat recovery system in Murli, and also I think the Bihar grinding unit, Singhi, was that part of this?
So, Kamlesh, I'll tell you. We are also acquiring certain land in the eastern region for augmenting our limestone capacity there. So, which is why you will see that number increasing. The budget for Bihar grinding unit or the remaining capex of KCW remains the same. There is no change in that.
Yeah, but 3,200 crore was the total capex which we had guided for.
So that still remains.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
over and above, you'll also see we are doing some clinker debottlenecking, and I think over a period of time, every company needs to spend a certain amount of money for augmenting their land or on limestone reserve. So we parked that extra money, which will now be used for augmenting at least the land acquisition for the limestone exploitation that we need. So that actually captures that incremental amount there.
Okay, and so that is 1,000 crore extra over and above that.
So Bihar grinding unit was always budgeted at about 780 odd crores, so that remains. KCW is hardly 100 odd crores left because we're going to be commercializing it soon. And Murli was about 400, 450 odd crores, that remains. So that's how the remaining that is left of the 2,000 is towards the land.
Okay. And sir, on the Bihar grinding unit, in last quarter we had guided that it would be March 23. Now we are guiding March 24. So on one hand we are announcing such a large capex, which includes roughly around 3 million ton of a greenfield plant, and we are targeting FY24. But for a grinding unit, we are now delaying year after year. I do know that there has been a COVID in between, but even then, March 24, like around a year or two back, we were targeting like a December 22. So it's almost like a March 24. And any clarity on the part of land acquisition or where we are in terms of that grinding unit?
Yes, it's a very right and pertinent question. We were, of course, hoping that, yes, whatever you said, we would be able to meet the target. But at the same time, on account of the sudden issues in the land acquisition where we were planning earlier, so we are now required to shift to some nearby land in that area. On that account, this delay is there. And when we said that March 24, yes, we are saying that it will be FY24, but that doesn't mean that this plant will get commissioned by March 24. It will be in the maybe between July to September 23. But then yes, what we said is that by FY24 this will be commissioned. And we are still making efforts that how this can be preponed, but at the moment we will not like to give very specific date because few things are in offing.
And sir, further clarity on the part of this greenfield plant. So what is the status of land acquisition or mine, and even for the two greenfield grinding units which we are putting in Tamil Nadu and Kerala?
Yes, so greenfield grinding units, whatever say we are talking, things are in place, and we should be able to complete this by March 23.
Okay. And sir, lastly, on this sustainability and green energy projects, 1,200 which we are committed, does it include the waste heat recovery and solar plants as well, or it's on the technology side or carbon-free cement or all that?
This includes solar power plant and whatever say we have said in our capex plan, that includes WHRS solar power plant and few other such green initiatives. And whatever we have talked about the innovation fund, that is separate.
Okay. And so would there be further plans on divesting further stake in IEX, or what's the status on that part?
So this is what we have said, is that we'll go on examining it, and whenever there is a right time, the same can be done, but then that we'll go on examining it. So at the moment, this is what our stand is.
See, just to add to what Mr. Singh just said, I think if you listen to what Puneet said, we want to be a pure play cement company. We have clearly divested 4.5% stake in IEX in the quarter, and this is going to be a continuous journey. As and when we require funds, we come with a capital allocation. As and when there is a need for investing back in the business, we will see us taking a stand on IEX and see what needs to be done. So our direction is very clear. Our goalpost is very clear. The timing is very difficult to predict because it's a public company and we cannot really diverge in terms of what I'm thinking on the stock of the other public company.
So just last thing on this Northeast 1.2 brownfield expansion. So the Northeast capacity, even like say if I take FY 18 or 19 year, we had been able to utilize those facilities at hardly around 60%. And year after year, let's say there has been no improvement in terms of incremental production. So what's the issue over there? And on top of that, we are expanding further by 1.2 odd million ton capacity there. So over 4 million ton, let's say we are hardly utilizing at 2.3, 2.4 million ton. And this is not for a particular year. It's like say 5-6 years we have been stagnant at that particular utilization level.
So if you look at last 2 years volume, you would find that we have grown in Northeast and now more focus in Northeast. We would like to remain ourselves prepared for any volume growth in the area, and we are of the view that we should not start putting up the capacity when we reach to 80%, 90% level, but we should be able to forecast the future, and accordingly we should put up the capacity. We are quite hopeful that with the focus of the government, both central and state, and the way now many such new projects have been announced, as well as the new industrial policy which is also in the offing, we should be able to get good volume growth in years to come.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. A request to all the participants, please restrict to 2 questions per participant. If time permits, please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. The next question is from the line of Swagato Ghosh from Franklin Templeton. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question, and congrats on the capital allocation plan update. This is exactly what we were looking for. A couple of questions on this. When you say that CAGR of 14 to 15% and there is an element of inorganic growth as well, then that makes the plan a bit unpredictable. So you mentioned about the ununiform nature of growth in the last 10 years. Aren't we then again looking at a similar kind of a thing? If there are more inorganic opportunities coming in the market in a short period of time, we would probably participate. And a related question is, where are these inorganic opportunities currently? Because I think the market currently doesn't have much. So why are we kind of very confident about these opportunities in future?
Rajiv here.
Go ahead.
So we are laying down a capital allocation framework will guide us for the next 10 years. Very difficult to predict inorganic opportunities as and when they come. We're also talking about a pan-India vision. We clearly have a vision to be a pan-India player. So as you expand into newer geographies, you would have to look at the right mix of organic and inorganic opportunities to expand your footprint. Having said that, we are not saying that we will wait for the inorganic opportunity to come to be able to grow to a CAGR of 14 to 15%. What we are saying is we will plan organic growth. We will do land acquisition, we'll do limestone, we'll do everything ahead of time. We'll plan, we'll be more predictable so that we have more secular. We'll try to make it as secular as possible. However, there could be inorganic opportunities, and as and when they come, we may have to tweak our organic growth plan to make sure that we still meet the number that we have set out for, and we don't exceed our 2 times net debt to EBITDA. So that is what we are looking at. It's very difficult to look at how things will play out in the next 10 years, but our vision is very clear, our strategy is very clear. We are not going to leave it for inorganic opportunities alone. We'll have a planned growth, and if an inorganic opportunity comes, then we'll look at how to balance between organic and inorganic. So that is what we're trying to say here.
Okay, no, that is very clear. Thanks, Rajiv. And also on the predictability part, a large part of the earnings driver is pricing. So when as an investor I am trying to get some comfort about predictable growth, what kind of comfort can I draw from the pricing trajectory, because it has been very volatile in the last 10 years. So if I'm looking at Dalmia's earnings, that will again be a key driver and probably it will again be volatile. So how can I get comfort on that factor?
So if I look at the last 10 years, yes, the pricing has been volatile quarter on quarter. But if I look at the last 10 years, pricing on average has gone up between 1 to 2% year on year. right? So when you're looking at pricing, it's very difficult to predict because there's a regional play, there is a state play, there are many other factors which come into the picture, which is competition, other things. So pricing, the way I look at it is, if I look at the last 10-year secular trend, it is going up 1 to 2% year on year. If I look at the last commodity cycle, the capex cycle, the cement prices tend to go up by almost 2% year on year. So I think we are just at the start of the capex cycle. For modeling purposes, we have not assumed that price increase beyond 1% year on year. So our thing is, even if the prices go by 1%, I think a lot of focus has to be on improving the operational efficiency, cost drivers, and pricing is something which will be an icing on the cake. So pricing is difficult to predict, but I think on a secular trend, I think it gives us a lot of comfort. Puneet, if you want to add something, Singh?
No, I think, I agree with you. I think, our whole model is built on basically continuous volume growth and, improving our operational efficiencies. But we also believe that as consolidation happens, depending upon the degree to which it happens, industry will gain more pricing power. While we have assumed 1% pricing growth in our model, we think that if consolidation happens, this could be better. But that's the icing on the cake.
Got it. I have a lot of follow-ups, but I'll take it offline with you guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Madhav Marda from Fidelity Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. I think many of the questions got answered, but one of the questions that I had was on the clinker cement mix. Just broadly, if I look at it in the next 3 to 4 years, we're expecting our clinker to move to about 23 million tons and the cement to be about 48. So even if I assume that East India has a higher sort of blending factor, do you think that 23 million tons of clinker at the portfolio level for the company is enough for the 48 million ton cement, or would we have some excess cement in the mix?
In my view, with our strategy to go for blended cement, it will be sufficient. And at the same time, if you study any clinker and cement production part, you would find that companies, including us, are able to produce maybe 90% to 100% clinker. But at the same time, as per the requirement of cement in the market, cement gets produced. So all the time, 100% cement capacity, cement is not produced, but at the same time, the clinker gets produced. So the point is that we are quite confident that with this clinker capacity of 23 million tons, we should be able to produce 50 million tons.
Okay, got it. And the second question was on the capacity growth. I think Mr. Dalmia did mention that in the 15% capacity CAGR, broadly 10% is what we're expecting to be on the organic side and 5% on the inorganic side. Is that how we are broadly thinking for the next 10 years?
No.
Go ahead, Rajiv.
No, what we are saying is that we don't need to take debt for being able to grow at 10% CAGR over the next 10 years. See, in our model, we can grow 10% year on year without the need for debt. Because we are targeting a higher growth at 15%, we have to look at a judicious mix of debt and equity. And so it's not saying that 10% is organic and 5% inorganic. We will look at what kind of inorganic opportunities come our way, whether it's a strategic fit, whether it is in increasing our footprint in the regions that we want to be, and then look at the inorganic opportunities. So, but our planning is going to be almost everything based on organic. And if inorganic opportunity comes, then we look at it from a strategic perspective.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pinakin from JP Morgan Chase & Company. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. My first question relates to, again, capacity addition plans. So at this point of time, we have visibility on 48.5 million tons, and the company mentioned that over the next 9 to 12 months, we'll have more visibility to take it to 60. But if I look at the plans to go to 110 to 130 million tons by 2031, that effectively implies post 2025 an annual capacity addition of 10 million tons. So in that context, sir, when should we expect to get more visibility on that kind of capacity addition in terms of granular projects? Because 10 million tons a year is a very large number.
So, it's very difficult to predict on a long-term basis. This is where we want to be. This is where we want to go. This is what our pan-India vision, and we believe that's the right size to be in. And given the opportunity that we see in the marketplace, I think the top players will see that kind of a growth. Having said that, I think from today we are 31 million tons. We have been able to a large extent, to detail out the 60 million tons, but we are announcing 48.5 right now. And I think in the next 9 to 12 months, I hope hopefully by in this financial year we'll be able to announce further expansion of 12 million in the central north and one of the existing regions. So I think this is a big step forward. From 31 to 60 announcement, detailing it out, allocating capital, I think a big step forward. As we go along, we are also looking at, expanding our footprint in newer geographies, whether it's north, central, west. And you have to give us some time. It's very difficult to lay a time frame within which we'll be able to give you a plan for 60 to 120. But if I look at your CAGR, that CAGR, though it may be sounding as a 10 million ton annual capacity increase, it is still about 15%. So we are still, if you look at the first 4 years, we are clearly saying we'll grow at 15% plus CAGR. And the next 6 years is also going to be 15% CAGR. So don't look at the absolute number, because as the company becomes larger and larger, the absolute numbers don't mean much.
Understood. Fair enough.
That's very well said, Rajiv. And I would also like to further add that after a few years, the base not would be the 30 million ton against which you find 10 million ton very high figure. But thereafter, the base would be 60 million ton, 70 million ton, 80 million ton. And for that, putting up capacity of 10 to 15 million would not be a big task. Important would be, yes, to identify the right place and go ahead.
Thank you very much. So my second and last question is on Mr. Dalmia's comments on industry consolidation. Now, over the last 10 years, the cement industry did see a fair bit of consolidation, which was primarily driven by industry profitability disappointing versus many new players having large leverage on their balance sheets. The IBC came in, and as part of the NCLT process, many companies had to change ownership. At this point of time, industry profitability is as strong as it has ever been. Balance sheets are as strong as it has ever been. So in that context, how does the company see consolidation opportunity emerge? Would it require, do you see industry profitability go through another down cycle which throws up consolidation opportunities? Or do you see some of the existing players or management just deciding to exit to take advantage of the high profitability and get a good deal?
So Puneet, let me attempt this, and then you can add to that.
Yeah.
See, when we're talking about consolidation, there's consolidation in two different ways. One is acquisition opportunities, where you see. Second is, as Puneet said in his opening remark, see, we are seeing over the last 3 years, almost 91% of incremental demand is being met by the top 5 players. In the last 1 year itself, the market shares have moved dramatically in favor of the top 5 players. So, consideration of market share is also very important. It is not only about consideration in terms of merger and acquisition opportunities. But I think even that would happen. See, when I'm saying that, we can grow 10% through our internal cash accruals, a smaller player with 3-5 million ton capacity, even if they have to put a minimum capacity, they have to put at least a 2 million ton, 2.5 million ton capacity. They have to borrow a big amount of money because the internal cash flows are not enough to be able to fund that kind of growth. So their ability to grow fast actually becomes constrained because they're dependent on external debt in a big way. And given that, what we are seeing with the kind of NPAs, I think it's not easy. You need an execution track record. See, for us also, it took us almost 10, 11 years to go from 9 million tons to 31 million tons. And if the industry is going to grow at a much faster pace during this capex cycle as we expect, you will see consolidation of market share happening in the next 10 years. And that is what our firm belief is. Puneet, if you want to add anything to that?
No, I was just saying that, look, this is consolidation is driven by, I'm first talking M&A, and then I will talk about market share, as Rajiv said. I think, first of all, consolidation is driven by multiple factors, and it depends on different times in the cycle. Sometimes people want to encash to focus more on their core businesses. There are companies which are conglomerates. Sometimes, it's due to, pressure. Sometimes it is due to succession. So I think when we are talking about a 10-year strategy, I think we have to be ready for all times in the cycle. And it has to fit strategy. It has to also fit our, financial return hurdle rates. So we are just giving a broad direction right now. We are not talking about here and now. And I think, as you said, here and now, we think that profitability is the best ever. Balance sheets are delevered. That's why our entire focus is on, an organic expansion plan. I think it just reaffirms the point that you just made. The second point I'm making is that even though capacity M&A may happen during the decade driven by various factors. The larger players will grow more organically and they will take more market share away. So I think the pricing power in the industry, which is the ultimate outcome of consolidation, is going to come even without large M&A to some extent. So I think those are the 2 points that we wanted to make, that while we've assumed the pricing growth of 1% in our model, we think there is upside due to consolidation of not just capacity M&A but even market share.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Rajesh Ravi from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Good morning and congratulations on a great set of numbers and a detailed presentation, particularly towards capital allocation. My question pertains to on this WHRS capacity 62 megawatt which you are eyeing. Could you give some breakup on where and by when these capacities would be getting commissioned?
So this WHRS capacity all would get commissioned by June 22 everywhere, June or July 22 everywhere, and then all our kilns except one kiln will have the WHRS capacity.
Okay, so by June, so by next year same time we'll be having 62 megawatt, barring one location.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and second is on the. Can you share some like what was your clinker production in FY21?
Would you like to share?
Clinker production company on total basis for FY21.
Yes. Aditya Dharmender?
That was 12.6 million.
12.6 million, okay. So we were operating close to around 75% on clinker in FY21. Okay. So again, earlier participants have also asked this. In terms of clinker expansion, the cement to clinker capacity ratio continues to remain at more than 2x. So is that a sufficient number, or it is more of a distributed grinding? Some of those grinding capacity expansions are more strategic in nature, and hence, this skewed number can sustain.
So one, I would say that this is the capability which we are building for producing blended cement. Secondly, we would say that we'll have enough clinker to produce this much cement, and then if overall industry average of capacity utilization is 70%, and in our case if it is 80 or 85% also, then also we'll have enough or surplus clinker to produce cement. So we don't see any challenge as such. As well, the way technologically our team has understood the full usage of plant and equipment, we are quite hopeful that this clinker capacity will help us to produce more than 48.6 million tons.
Okay. And similarly for FY21, what was the production mix that we have achieved on full year basis? OPC, PPC, PSC and composite?
Yes. Aditya Dharmender?
Last year cement production was about 20.7 and we had a CC ratio, cement to clinker ratio of 1.65.
Okay, and possible to share like how much was our PPC and slag cement production?
So maybe Aditya offline you can share.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take from her.
Yes. For the sales mix of last year, hello, I don't know if you can hear me. For the sales mix of last year, our OPC was somewhere around 17-18%, and the rest was all blended. So we've actually progressed to about 83% blended cement on an overall basis, of which I think the growth in PCC has been exceptional over the last 3-4 years. It was almost 15% on FY21, and if you speak of the quarter, it's 18%. So just to tell you directly, 17% OPC, PPC was around 33%, PCC 15, and PSC 32.
And let me also add here that we should look at Indian cement sector as a whole also. And if you look the Indian cement sector's journey towards blended cement of last 10 years, last 5 years, every year it is inching up with the additional capacity also, because many of the top players who are forward looking, they are advocating of using blended cement, which is good both for the construction also and for the globe also. And you would also find there are few cement companies whose blended cement ratio may be 85 to 95% also.
Yes, sir. Agree, sir. And I think I'll come back and queue. Thank you. All the best, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Indrajit from CLSA. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. Couple of questions. One, after the current near-term expansion to 48.5, would you have hope for further debottlenecking, or the debottlenecking part of expansion is largely done?
Broadly, I would say it is largely done, but at the same time, with the technological innovations, no one knows that what more can be done. You know, when we commissioned our line 3, and then we could understand few more areas where improvements can be done, and technology is always in evolution state. So I would not say that there will not be any scope for future debottlenecking or doing something, but at the same time, whatever is possible as per our management team, as well as the technological suppliers, this is what best we would like to do.
Sure. Thank you. In regards to your greenfield integrated expansion, ex of the south and east, given that Rajasthan in the new limestone mines that have been auctioned, how confident are we of timely organic greenfield expansion ex of our 4 regions of operations? I mean, what are the kind of bottlenecks we can face, and how are we approaching
that? So this is how what we have shared is that maybe in 9 to 12 months, when we are able to get more certainty about few areas as well as about the land acquisition part, then we should be able to share with you that this is the broad action plan. But you and all of you must appreciate the way transparently we have come out that this is our vision, this is our philosophy, this is our action plan, this is what we would like to do. So quarter by quarter, you will go on getting more and more clarity, as well as we'll go on giving you more and more new vision.
All right. One last question, if I may. Are you sharing what kind of proceeds we can expect from the refractory and retail divestment? Any ballpark number?
I think let the board work on this and we'll come back to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashish Jain from Macquarie Group. Please go ahead. Ashish Jain,
Hi, sir. Good morning. Sir, I had 2 questions. One, the capex breakup that we have given of around 4,000 to 5,000 crores for this capacity addition. Can you break it up between how much is for clinker capacity, how much is greenfield grinding, and how much is the grinding upgrades that we are doing?
Dharmender, you can share this.
Yeah, clinker debottlenecking is going to be around 1,200 to 1,300. Then new cement capacity additions, which is greenfield, etc., that will be around 3,000 crore or so. And the ongoing capex which are there, which is left, that will be about 1,250 to 1,300 crores. And rest all will be about 3,300 crores, 3,000 to 3,500 crores, you can say.
Okay. And sir, secondly, my question is this journey from 48 to 110 that you've spoken about. As we stand, what is the visibility or what is the confidence we have in terms of either greenfield based upon our current readiness or brownfield based upon whatever limestone or land that we may have? I just want to understand the visibility of 50 to 110 based upon the resources we already have under our belt.
Yes, please. you should try to understand that when we have come out with such message, so work is in progress, but at the same time, we would not like to give you some hazy numbers or hazy period, and that's why we have said that slowly in 9 to 12 months, we'll come out with a plan for 60 million tons. And later on also, the more credit do come, we would share. So at the moment, I would not be able to share with you that what's the exact plan for beyond 60 million tons. Okay?
Yeah, got it. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Urmit Chaya from Asian Market Securities. Please go ahead.
Just one question. In Q1, the realization is lesser than even Ambuja, which has no presence in South. Is it entirely because of East? And if in that case, when the capacity expansion in East happens, how do you see prices behaving?
The exact region, because we don't have exact analysis of Ambuja, but then if you broadly compare, then maybe because of better prices present in northern India, that may have some impact. But as far as, say, future is concerned about East prices, with the increasing demand, I think what Rajiv was also earlier shared, that this is how the price movement would be there. So we don't see any major challenge. One quarter here and there, something can be there. But otherwise, like in South also, broadly, prices are stable. And in East, if you look even of last 3 years, in few quarters, it's plus, in few quarters, it's minus. But as far as, say, our brand is concerned, our capability to sell the right cement is concerned, that's great.
So just last question. Isn't demand and price inversely proportional?
You know better than me that sometimes it does.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhavin Chheda from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Excellent presentation on capital allocation, and good to see the board taking the investors' feedback of focusing purely on the cement vertical. So just on the capacity expansion plans which are announced, the South, which I am seeing upgradation plus the greenfield would be entirely in Tamil Nadu?
Like the greenfield would be in Tamil Nadu to serve the market of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So the 3 million ton would be in Tamil Nadu. But then that will be serving the most prosperous market of Tamil Nadu and Kerala.
Yeah, sure. But the capacity which is coming is entirely in Tamil Nadu, right?
No, there's 0.9 in Belgaum also.
I'm saying 0.3 million ton is in Tamil Nadu, and 0.9 million ton that would come in our Belgaum plant, which will be serving mainly Karnataka market and possibly some nearby areas of Maharashtra where it's more profitable.
Okay. This second question, the results had a note of some old dispute on the, I think, 26% balance stake in Kelcom. So would you like to update on the same?
Yeah, in this case, the arbitration award, which was pronounced by the arbitration tribunal, that was challenged by the company and the High Court, and the High Court has stayed that matter. So we are confident that nothing adverse should happen.
So regarding that unit, can the board go ahead with any expansion on other plans, or are there court restrictions on doing anything on that unit?
There are no restrictions, please.
No restrictions. Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ritesh Shah from Investec. Please go ahead.
Yes, please. We are not able to hear the voice.
So the line for the participant just dropped.
Okay. Next, please.
The next question is from the line of Girish Chaudhary from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
And congrats on the expansion plans. Couple of questions. Firstly, in the east, you will have a grinding capacity of 24 million ton and clinker is around 8 million ton. While you did discuss about high blending, but in terms of the raw material security, which is the slag, how confident are you in terms of the supplies? I just wanted to get a perspective on this.
We are quite confident of supplies because one, the steel plants, they are broadly now running at full capacity, and second, there are plans announced by various steel companies to expand their slag steel production. And thirdly, since to some extent we would also be moving towards composite cement and so on, so that would also need a little bit lower requirement. That would need a lower slag. So that way we are saying that we are quite confident about the availability of raw material in terms of both slag and fly ash.
But currently, do you have any contracted supply with the companies in some? Is there any medium?
Yes.
So will that continue on increase?
Yes, we have some long-term contract also and some short-term contract also. But the way we have seen the market, steel companies do need cement companies. We must understand. Why they also need us, and we also need slag so that we can produce blended cement, which is good both for profitability also and for the carbon footprint also.
Okay.
The line for the participant dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraint, that will be the last question for today. I will now hand the conference over to Mr. Puneet Dalmia for closing comments.
Thank you very much. Once again, I want to thank you all for participating in this conference call and giving us your valuable feedback on how should we look at the future decade. I look forward to continuing this interaction with you and look forward to spending more time to update you on how our progress on our expansion is going. We are very excited about the future that India offers, and we are very confident that the best for Dalmia is yet to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Dalmia Bharat Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect your lines.